Welcome back, I'm Sid again, and when someone asks me for a good smartphone recommendation under 9,000 rupees, I generally tell them to buy a Redmi 3S, not because I like the phone, but because there hardly is any competition for it out there. So even though it has a poor camera, it has an only HD display and a couple of other flaws at its disposal, Redmi 3S is still a great smartphone to buy at that price bracket. Yet, it now seems that Lenovo wants to take on Xiaomi's hegemony, and that is why after much delay, they have ousted the Lenovo K6 Power in India. And this was a phone I was waiting for. And I had high hopes from it, but after using it for a week now, I don't think I would recommend it to everyone. And the answer for that is in this full review of the Lenovo K6 Power. So let me start by talking about the looks of this smartphone. They are fine. There are certain things which are likable here and certain things that I don't like that much. Talking about things I appreciate, I do appreciate the metal back on the smartphone. It makes the smartphone look a lot premium. Now you may say the phone looks a lot like an Asus phone or a phone from Vivo, an Oppo smartphone or a phone from Xiaomi. However, it's still not a complaint because those phones too look very premium for their respective price tags. And having metal for under 10,000 is a win-win situation for me either ways. Also on the back is a fingerprint scanner that is very quick to slide you into the home screen. Oh, by the way, sliding reminds me the phone is very slippery, so a case is advisable from me to you. But it's when you turn the phone around, the situation gets a bit more tacky. Firstly, the metallic continuity has been broken, which I do not appreciate. Secondly, the chin of this phone is pretty big, and that is a direct result of possibly the biggest set of capacitive row key I've seen on a phone. So that to me is somewhat of a bummer. Apart from that, the micro USB placement on the top feels a bit odd, and the LED notification light, that's a good thing actually, is one of the most brightest I've seen in a smartphone for a couple of years now. But overall in retrospect, the phone could have been made a bit more compact and a bit more better in my opinion. But as a side note, I believe that this phone is a better multimedia phone compared to its peers. And here's the reason. Multimedia has two planks, audio and video. When it comes to visual, the Full HD resolution of the smartphone is of course appreciated for its price, and though the screen gets a lot bright, I do feel that viewing angles could have been a bit better. But my favorite part of the screen is its 5-inch form factor, which will appeal to those who still consider phones with 5.5-inch screens phablets. And the second component of multimedia is audio, and that is a place this phone excels. It has possibly the loudest speaker on a budget smartphone I've heard in a long time. And even though you might say that you don't listen to music on a loudspeaker that often, it still is very useful. I'll tell you how. My phone can be on the third floor while I'm having my lunch on the ground floor where my dining table is, and I could still hear its ringtone. It's that powerful. Also, there is a Dolby enhancement given on the smartphone in the software, but I believe that it distorts the sound a bit. So my recommendation is to avoid using it. But there is one major issue with this otherwise fantastic speaker. The speaker is placed on the back, and unlike a Xiaomi smartphone, it does not have a rear elevation, which means the sound is sure to get muffled when the speaker is placed on its back and the screen is faced up. Now let's talk software for a while. A lot of people I know have issues with Xiaomi's Chinese take on Android with its MIUI. And all those people I feel would appreciate the stock look and feel of Lenovo's Vibe UI. For one, you get an app drawer. And secondly, you get a stock look and feel in the menus and the notifications shade. Yet, it's not fully stock. And that's a good thing. For it means you get things like themes, you get dual app profiles, meaning that you can run two different WhatsApp accounts on the same phone. You also get Secure Zone, which comes in handy when you are giving your phone to someone, but you don't want them to use all your applications. But almost all of those features are available on the MIUI 8 as well. So it's not a clear advantage. And like other OSs, there are certain things I like. For instance, the ease with which you can switch between dual 4G SIMs. But it also has its own set of nuisances. For example, when trying to call an Uber driver, it gives you various options including texting and video calling him, but not of making a regular voice call. By the way, you also get a lot of cool gestures on this one, including shortcuts for flashlights and camera. Which now takes us to the cameras, and this is an important section. The biggest issue I've had with Redmi 3S are its poor cameras, and even if K6 Power's camera quality was a tad bit better than Redmi 3S, it would have won my vote. However, this phone somehow manages to perform worse than Redmi 3S at times. The day shots are fine, indoors are bearable only if your hand is steady, but most of the time it won't be optimal. The low light shots are simply bad. But again, it all depends on how steady your hands are. The camera UI is quite loaded in terms of its functionality, including things like artistic HDR modes, but that does not compensate for lack of quality. Things do get better in the front camera though. So yeah, if selfies are all you take, you won't complain that much. Here is how Lenovo K6 Power's camera compares to the cameras of Xiaomi Redmi 3S. Lastly, I want to talk about the battery life of the smartphone. Now, I was thinking that because it has a richer display compared to the Redmi 3S, the battery would not be at par with it. It would be a little bit inferior. But to my surprise, the phone lasted me 2 days straight with above average usage, and if you use your phone a bit more moderately, you won't even have to charge it over the weekend. The reason for this are two. Number one, it uses a 4000 mAh battery, which is beefy enough to power it, and number two, Lenovo's Vibe UI has certain mechanisms employed into it which make it a very power saving operating system. Apart from that, you also get fast charging on this phone along with a safe power battery saving mode which kicks the smart out of your smartphone and makes it a dumb phone. What you have noticed by now is that I have not discussed performance of this device at all, and the reason for that is I decided to club it in the verdict section. So, how's the phone? Well, it's not a bad phone. However, with poor cameras and a couple of issues here and there, it does not fare very well against the competition. Now let's talk about the performance here. You get a Snapdragon 430 CPU on the smartphone, which is the same one you get on the Xiaomi Redmi 3S. And it handles all routine tasks with absolute ease. Even the high-end games work flawlessly on the smartphone. However, the issue is Redmi 3S gives you the same kind of CPU for 7,000 bucks. And it's fair to charge more for a full HD display, but what Lenovo forgot is the pricing is now similar to the Redmi Note 3, which does give you 2 GB of RAM, but it gives you way superior cameras and boasts a very superior Snapdragon 650 CPU. So someone who has to pick Lenovo K6 Power has to have a very strong reason not to go for Xiaomi Redmi Note 3. Having said all that, however, if you want a long-lasting, media-centric, 5-inch compact smartphone, this is a good option. However, if screen is not a priority, you can either save a grand or not and get a Xiaomi instead, if you have the patience to go through their flash sales. And that was my review of the Lenovo K6 Power, but what is more important for me to know is what are your views on this device and your views on this review. So post your views in the comment box below and do hit the subscribe button. What are you waiting for? Also give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends. My name is Sid. Keep seeing me. Ciao.